Innovating and experimenting with awesome new additions to the playstyle is how you make your title stand out from the crowd. Seems obvious, right? You'd think so. But why do some game studios craft really cool gameplay mechanics that are a struggle to use? How frustrating is it to know how cool a mechanic is, but you just can't bring yourself to get it right? Difficulty is one thing, but overcomplication, insane control schemes, demands for your time, these kinds of things make us feel like kids that have been shown a fancy new toy and then told to keep it in its box. I'm Cy for WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 awesome video game mechanics that are impossible to pull off. Number 10. Potion mixing, The Witcher 2. One of the great things about the Witcher games is just how much there is to do that you can totally get through each title and not have experienced everything. Except Gwent. We all played Gwent. Many players never bothered with the potion making and mixing in The Witcher 2 because they'd rather go monster hunting than ingredient gathering. Making a potion is a step-by-step process that requires finding a place to meditate, having read a specific potion formula, holding the ingredients to make whatever quality base you'd like, and then all the ingredients for the specific potion. Potions also use ingredients that can be crafted elsewhere, so it's all too easy to use something that you might need later. Video game material hoarders can attest to this concern. Potions are cool and can have numerous great effects such as status resistance, a higher chance of parry, or making invisible enemies visible, but if you failed to craft something worthwhile, your concoction would kill you, so do you really want to risk it? The importance of such things depends on your difficulty of choice, of course, but if you're going for a casual jaunt through the world of Witcher 2, then you probably won't have much use for potions nor the time spent putting them together. Number 9. Monster infighting, Doom. These days, it's commonplace for games to have multiple warring factions that just so happen to both be your enemies. Stumbling into a firefight between them and staying out of the way, or even using their animosity to instigate one, is a legitimate strategy. The original Doom did a lot of good things for transforming the landscape of gaming, but some may not have ever been aware of monster infighting. Not only did many FPS games of the era not give enemies the ability to hurt each other, they certainly didn't make it possible for their victims to retaliate. Yes, if you can carefully avoid a monster's attack and that stray bullet hits another foe, the demon in question will get mighty upset about it, and the two will usually wind up having a fight to the death. It's certainly one way to play conservatively, causing a demon civil war until only the strongest enemies remain, and then picking them off afterwards. It's not for everyone though, as it means not just getting in the line of sight of your opponents, but getting out unscathed so you can watch the carnage from a safe distance. Sometimes dodging shots to try and land them on a target you have no control over requires too much patience. Number 8. Animation cancelling, League of Legends. Although its origins are hard to trace, if you've ever been part of a community for a fighting game or watched a tournament, you'll have no doubt heard of attack or animation cancelling. It refers to the ability to stop an animation midway through to get the benefits of something without having to wait for the character to stop moving before you act again. It allows for faster play and the ability to swap tactic as the situation changes. But it isn't just limited to fighting games, and is in fact a part of the metagame of the biggest MOBA there is, League of Legends. While some characters fare better than others, it's champions such as Riven that benefit the most from animation cancelling. In fact, Riot Games specifically designed Riven to play like a fighting game character, so it's not surprising that she takes so well to the concept. But animation cancelling isn't necessarily easy, and it requires pinpoint timing to get right. Looking up Riven combat tutorials to get better at the game will tell you that you need to be able to use animation cancelling to get the best out of her. So if you can't get that input right, you're not getting the Riven that could take out an entire enemy team of 5 by herself. Number 7. WAVEDASHING, Super Smash Bros. Melee. Smash Bros. Is a wild and crazy celebration of gaming that is marketed by Nintendo as a party fighter. Its validity as a fighting game has always been a point of contention, depending on who you ask, but the fact of the matter is, Melee is the fastest and most challenging game in the series to master. This only got more intense when players realised that small jumps air dodged back towards the ground created sweeping movements that made the game even speedier. Wave dashing, as it came to be known, changed the face of combat in the Smash Bros. Metagame. The discovery and subsequent mastering of wave dashing was what separated casual players from those who wanted to compete at the highest level, and it wasn't just being able to pull off the technique in isolation, it was finding your spots to use it mid-match and do so to your advantage. Comparing your own gameplay to what tournament level competitors can do is brain-melting stuff. It's not for everyone, and simply getting the basics down is a headache, especially in a game as crazy and intense as Smash Bros. Sometimes it's best to leave the most nimble moves to the masters and just play the game at its most simple. Anyone for a Pokeballs only match? Number 6. Redstone, Minecraft. Whether you love or hate Minecraft, you can't deny how successful it is as a creative outlet. Castles, cities and more that are feats of cube-based architectural design are just the tip of the iceberg. Minecraft has transformed through the last decade, and the earliest signs that it could be more than just hunting for gold and hiding from creepers was redstone. A rare ingredient found at the bottom of the earth, redstone essentially can be used to create electrical currents. For the players that invested time into it, the possibilities became endless. Hooray, you've built a secret passage triggered by a switch. Well done you. Now take a look at this functional Game Boy built inside of Minecraft that can play Tetris. What makes building with redstone difficult is twofold. First of all, even if you're following a pre-made guide, it's hard to get right, and just like real wiring, if there's an issue somewhere, it can take an age to identify. Thankfully, much less dangerous at least. Secondly, if you're playing on the traditional survival mode, you'll have to farm like crazy to get everything you need. It's a time-intensive affair. Bless that one friend on the server who can outfit everybody with automated defense turrets, because some of us just don't have the brains for it. Number 5. Parry. Dark Souls. You can tell if a mechanic is hard to pull off if a game's community is separated into those who can do it and everyone else. From Software's reputation is games that are notoriously difficult in nearly every regard, but people flock to them because of their high quality. They're not just cheap for cheap's sake, and overcoming challenges in the likes of the Dark Souls series is one of the biggest rushes of serotonin modern gaming has to offer. What makes parrying attacks in Dark Souls so tough is just how precise you have to be with the right frames of animation. Mastering one parry is something special and truly feels like outthinking your opponent. Trying to apply that same knowledge to another enemy is fruitless, however, as everything has its own timing. Becoming a counter-attack machine is therefore such a game changer that only the most intensely talented players can brag about it. Dark Souls in general is a game about playing carefully, and the combat centres around knowing when to duck and when to dive to avoid damage, but if you've had enough watching your player avatar roll from pillar to post and want to risk standing your ground, then prepare to get splattered a great many times along the way if you don't master that parry. Number 4. SHINESPARK. Super Metroid. A staple of the Metroid series is Samus equipping herself with all of her classic sidearms throughout her journey until she's all kitted up and ready to take on the final boss. It's a feeling of power every time to have a new ability on your side, as well as opening up new traversal options to delve deeper into the game's world. Super Metroid introduced the SHINESPARK. After equipping the speed booster, Samus can store the energy it creates by crouching. Following this, if players quickly get into position, they can unleash the SHINESPARK by propelling Samus's body like a rocket. Thankfully, this ability is optional, and unless you're going for 100% completion, you never need to use it to beat the game's story. Why? Because it's incredibly difficult, so the timing is a kicker, not just on storing the energy, but getting into the right place to make it worthwhile. On top of this, Samus can SHINESPARK horizontally, vertically, or even diagonally, if you can pull it off right. Largely, the SHINESPARK is used to grab hard-to-reach items, and speedrunners make excellent use of the technique in getting through the game as safe and as unharmed as possible. For us regular scrubs, however, it's something that has eluded a great number of us no matter how many times we've played this classic title. Number 3. Pro Guitar. Rock Band 3. Rock Band brought the rhythm genre to its next logical step when it introduced the guitar gameplay to bass, drums and karaoke vocals. Despite being the leader of the pack, however, it was still riding a wave that was sure to crash. In order to keep things lively, Rock Band 3 introduced a few new instruments. Whilst the keyboard was fairly straightforward, it was the Pro Guitar that really threw many for a loop. There were two peripherals associated with it. One was essentially a tricked out real guitar, but the other was a classic Rock Band plastic instrument with 102 buttons all down its fretboard. In ways, Pro Guitar is an excellent teaching tool, but after years of honing our chops on expert mode, it's a real reminder that those skills of nailing a red, green, yellow, blue and orange guitar solo doesn't transfer. The learning curve is steep to a degree that it's almost like learning a musical instrument, because it is. Whilst genuine guitarists can fare better on the thing, it's still a clunky and bizarre controller that takes some getting used to no matter what. The game's strange and confusing way of tracking notation and chords on screen certainly doesn't help. Using a video game to teach yourself guitar is awesome, but we expect this feature went largely unused at your everyday house party. Number 2. The Controls. Getting over it with Bennett Foddy. Browser-based physics nightmare QWOP was a sensation because of just how different it was to the mainstream gaming space in 2008. On the cusp of the indie game revolution, it was a simple yet wildly addictive puzzle and test of tolerance. Developer Bennett Foddy went viral again in 2017 when he dropped Getting Over It that seemed like an extension of the same core concepts. Instead of trying to alternate 4 keys to make a sprinter actually run rather than faceplant at the start line, Getting Over It asks players to climb a mountain with only a sledgehammer. As such, the controls for the game are really the only mechanic it has, lining up that hammer to propel yourself forward, hoping to high heaven with each movement that it won't backfire. The controls are of course intentionally tough, and you'll know within minutes if this game is for you. You'll either quit out immediately or prepare yourself for the long haul of toughing it out to the end. The highs in overcoming a spot you've been stuck in for 15 minutes are unmatched, but the game will not make it easy for you. With no checkpoint system, mistakes can be so bad that even the chillest gamers will find out what rage quit really means. Number 1. Fatality, Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat is known as the game that was so violent it basically birthed the need for video game rating boards. At the centre of all the controversy was the Fatality system, a character-specific kill animation that is gratuitous and wonderfully deranged. It says it all that even 30 years into the franchise, the Fatality remains one of its most important and beloved aspects, with each new title offering new twisted ways to add insult to injury when you beat your opponent. Pulling off one of these, however, requires you to be more than just a casual player. We've all been there. You pick up Mortal Kombat with very little experience, and if you manage to successfully put down your enemy, the match ends somewhat unceremoniously with your opponent wiggling in place for a moment before collapsing. You weren't going to button bash your way into the Fatality. Perhaps more than any other fighter, Mortal Kombat rewards players for picking a character and learning every combination of button inputs, including and especially their coup de grace. Even when you think you've got it memorised, that small window of opportunity puts the pressure on and you'll still crack and mess it up. Sure, you might win a fight in Mortal Kombat, but it doesn't really feel like winning if your opponent's body is still in one piece now, does it? And that's the list. Let us know what you thought of this video down in the comments below, as well as any other video game mechanics that you thought were awesome but just way too hard to pull off. Make sure you like this video, share it with a friend, subscribe and hit that notification bell. I've been Cy for WhatCulture, and have a good week.